All right, Tony Kent, book author, amazing dude. He's going to talk about what are you talking about? See, this is one of those situations.
It keeps changing in my heart, but transformational moments.
Okay, so who is Tony Kemp for people that don't know?
Well, I was a fashion photographer in Europe for over 25 years at a very high level. I came back to America and went through a life-changing experience, which I'll discuss a little bit with you. I got into a nonprofit that I've developed for 20 years now. I started building network marketing companies. I've been very blessed to be very successful at that. And I've created a program called Make Your Life Magical, Creating Abundance from Within, which is based on the spiritual teachings of a master I've spent 20 years with, who I believe is the fullest expression of divinity I ever met in the human form. And I don't think his teachings work. I know they work because I've watched him help thousands of people deal with pain, emotional traumas, physical, spiritual, and help them transcend those moments and recreate themselves to lead a more meaningful life. And the purpose of Make Your Life Magical is to help people discover, are they living the life that they want to live? Are they following their passion? Are they really making a difference with their life? And so that's what I'm about, is helping others.
There you go. Give it up for Tony Kent. Thank you.
Great introduction, Joe.
That was easy for me.
Well, my prayer today is that I hope I give back some of the value to all of you that I've been receiving from everything that you've all shared. My passion in life, one of the things that's always amazed me is I had a hobby of magic when I was young. And what I love about magic is that it's an art that is, its beauty is in the unseen. For instance, when he's selling a painting, you can look and you can see how the painter went from white to gray to black, did his colors. You can watch a dancer with her technique and her abilities. You can hear the training in a voice that creates emotion in you. But magic is something it's what you don't see that creates the amazement. So I like using magic as a metaphor because I had a personal experience where I realized that a lot of the answers that I was seeking to the pain that I had been experiencing ended up being in the unseen. And I am a man of faith, and everything I do now is based on faith, but I believe that when you develop the soul and the spirit, that there is no limit to what can be done. Earlier, Joe mentioned, you can't have fear without excitement or excitement without fear. I believe you can have excitement without fear because the soul doesn't know fear. The actual essential spirit doesn't know fear. When it depends on something that's bigger outside itself, when it depends on love, there is really no fear. So what I want to do is share with you now a magic, and Jean-Marie, could you come up? This is a card effect that is illustrating a point of how do we arrive at a transformational moment, and how are we able to track that moment so that we can maximize it. So we haven't rehearsed anything here, right? You have no idea what's going to happen. Okay, so here's what I'm going to.
Still be married after.
Yes, you'll be more married. You're going to be more together. You'll see why. This is a metaphor. So I'll tell you what. Why don't you just say stop at some point?
Stop.
Okay.
I saw the card. Is that bad?
Yeah, no, it's good.
Oh, okay.
I want you to open that and sign it.
Okay. All right.
And hold on to the pen because she's going to have it. So I'm going to put this here for the moment. This is all going to make sense later. Okay, so I'm going to turn your card face down, and I'm going to put it in this half of the deck. I'm going to ask you to do the same thing.
Okay.
I want you to say stop at some point.
Okay. Stop.
Okay. Would you sign your name there? And do you remember the date that you first met, the two of you met?
Well, see, I was dating your roommate, so what?
Do you remember the year?
That's the truth.
Do you remember the year?
1991.
All right,
Yeah, I do.
1991.
Mm-hmm.
1991. Okay. you put
Choose
that
the tripwire.
in. Okay, so I'm going to take your card and I'm going to put it face down in this half. Now watch what happens. We have two different lives that were following two different streams that came together. what I want you to do is I want you to push your card in the deck and you push your card into the deck. So now watch, with no manipulation, watch the magic that happens. I simply pass my hands over and one card turns face up. That is the card that you signed. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to take that, I'm going to turn it face down. I do the same thing, no manipulation, and another card is going to turn face up. This is your card with your signature. Now what's amazing, you see, is just like their two lives came together and converged, the two cards that they've signed have now come together. So hold out your hand really like that, and take the cards, and I want you to put your hand face down like that.
Okay.
Now watch it happen. What I want you to do is go back to the moment in your life where you felt that she was going to be your partner, and you do the same thing. It might not have been the same moment. And put that, okay, now watch that. Your lives have come together and it's kind of sealed. You've got children, you're developing. Look at the card now. Turn it over. The card has come together and melded together the same way their two lives have come together. Thank you. There's a souvenir. So what I want to illustrate with this is that for them it was a magical moment. It was full of awesome, you know, when you meet your life's partner and you know that that happens, there's something, this is all in the unseen. They can't prove that they love each other. You can't take a flower and you can take a flower and dissect it and get all kinds of analysis from it, but in doing that dissection you kind of ruin the beauty of the flower, and you also ruin the amazement that you can have from the appreciation of what's in the unseen. And you know, when Cindy was talking about intuition, this is something, you can't prove intuition, it's a feeling. She said, you know, was talking it coming from the gut, I think it comes from the heart. And so here's what I want to share with you is, what happened in my life is I had put together what I thought was the perfect life. I was a super successful photographer, making thousands of dollars a day, traveling all over the world. I had 4 phenomenal children with a wife that I loved more than life itself. And then one day, which for me came completely out of the unseen, my wife fell in love with somebody else and told me she was wanting a divorce and wanting to leave. And what happened is it was a transformational moment in my life, but I didn't see it coming. Now I can go back and connect the dots and say, wow, you know, I was so into my career that she wasn't feeling nurtured. She didn't know how to express that feeling to me. My children were disconnected. They didn't know how to share that with me. And yesterday I shared a saying with you that Carl Jung said, nothing so affects the life of a child as a parent's unfulfilled life. Well, I thought I was having a fulfilled life, but the thing is that I wasn't accepting with impeccability my responsibility as a parent and as a father and as a husband. So consequently, my life fell around completely apart, and I went into 4 years of immense pain. I lost all desire to work. All the money I had amassed, I couldn't buy my way out of this pain. I was thinking, in my dark moments, I would be thinking about, you know, like, wow, how could I take my life and leave lots of money for the kids and not have them know it was I mean, I was in a deep, dark hole. And a friend of mine said, that's the longest bull ride I ever saw. I mean, I just held on because I thought if I could just get the love back from this woman, if I could just get the love in this face, I'd be happy again. And then one day I came home and we had one of these extended living rooms and kitchens, and I came in the door and my 2 youngest children came running down and they just gave me a big hug. And for the first time in 4 years, I felt like a cloud lift and I felt a moment of joy. So afterwards, when the kids were in bed, I was thinking, what was that? I've been wanting this for 4 years. What happened here? And I went and I sat by their bed and I looked at them, and just the emotions all came. The love was just pouring out of my heart for them. And then I realized a transformational moment for me was that we think that our pain and dissatisfaction comes from what we're not getting. But what had happened to me is my heart had actually stopped loving. I was in pain because I was so focused on what I wasn't getting that I wasn't giving the love that makes you feel so good. And in that moment with my kids, I just loved them without wanting anything in return and without caring. And then I realized if we want to be content and fulfilled in our life, we have to live as an expression of our Creator, because our Creator gave us this life. And we have an expression in my spiritual tradition that God says, I was a hidden treasure desiring to be known. So I created all of the universe to express myself, and this treasure I hid in the heart of my beloved. And he must destroy the mountain of his existence in order to reveal this treasure. And so what I, in the last 20 years, have done is I've spent these 10,000 hours learning how to destroy that mountain of existence, because fear comes from the ego. It doesn't come from the spirit. And once you can believe that your spirit and your heart and loving unconditionally and giving unconditionally is your path to joy, you're always seeking something outside to fulfill you. And most people, they do it without the awareness of the pain that it's causing to other people around them. And I'm sure that, like on the board meetings with the children, you know, that this opens this communication for the parent to understand that they haven't been really living a fulfilled life for their child. And we, in order to be happy, we have to live with a certain impeccability. Because we say, you know, God sees the black ant on the black rock and the moonless night. And your conscience is going to tell you, how impeccable are you? How do you follow through with everything you say you're going to do, when you say you're going to do it? And it starts with little things. So I hope that this will help you go home and just look at, you know, who do you want to open your heart to, and watch how you're opening your heart and the love you give brings joy to everyone around you and to yourself. And I hope that this can be a transformational moment for you, because it changed my life and for the better. Thank you.
So, questions? Does anyone have any questions or comments for Tony?
Everybody's speechless.
You know, I think a lot of us could probably relate to what you went through, maybe not at the degree because you were married to, you know, somebody like that, but I'm sure some of you can. So we've all been there. You know, I've been through it, and I was younger, and it really messed me up. And but learning how to deal with it, I really was like, went into my own shell and didn't, you know, just didn't talk to people about it, just kind of, and it really ate me up inside. And I think it's learning how to deal with that kind of pain is what sets you apart in life. And you know, it's very inspiring.
Well, I think it's that every part of your business that's suffering, if you look at where is your love held back in those moments, like he was saying, Kevin was saying, you know, like my advice would be just do the things you love to do and trust that the universe is going to send the answer and the people to fulfill the rest of it. But I feel so blessed because every day I'm doing something I love. I don't do it because I have to. I don't do it because I need to. I do it because I want to, because it's just like a singer has to sing. I just like have to create and do things, and you know, it works. It just makes me feel so fulfilled all the time, and I don't worry about, you know, do I need more money? Because you know, it's not always a great gift. If you read The Education of a Millionaire, leaving a lot of money to your children has been proven not to be such a good thing after all. It's much better to leave your children the legacy of having watched you live a life that's made you feel complete, that they are connected in their heart to. This is the biggest reward that I believe we can have as parents, is that we give our kids, you know, wings to fly and roots to come home to, that they feel the love, because you can't buy back that time. I can't go back for the first 10 years when I was traveling all over the world and thought I was, you know, such a great photographer and making all this money. I can't go back to all the classes that I missed with my kids and the shows that, you know, they did on theater that I missed. You can't buy that back with your money. There are a lot of problems you can't solve with success in business, but you can solve with the growth of the spirit, I believe.
In business, if you love what you do, it's a big advantage, because I know I love trading on Wall Street, and then I just didn't love it anymore, so I quit. And I waited a long time to find something else that I love, and now I found a passion for art. And I think, a lot of things that I read, they say if you love what you do, it's a big edge. What do you think about that?
I mean, are you happier now than you were then?
Well, yeah, I love what I'm doing.
Yeah. I mean, I just think it's the greatest gift in the world is to love what you do. I mean, I think a lot of you do in this room love what you do. That's why you do it. But sometimes I know when I did it, I just put a little bit too much emphasis on approval from others and, maybe it's like, Mike saying, trying to please a father that wasn't there or something. But one of the things that we've learned in my path is that to really leave the past. You cannot change the past. But if you can really let go of it, and if you can learn to forgive yourself for the mistakes you've made and maybe the wounds you've done to others, through leaving the past and forgiveness, you open doors. It liberates your spirit to a whole new level of creation and energy. And Mike will tell you, he felt his sickness came from anger towards his parents or your father, was it? Holding on to these things, they will bring you to your knees. But the solution, he couldn't buy, with his $13 million years, he couldn't buy his way out of that situation. He had to find the emotional and spiritual fortitude to get through it. And I'm sure that you're experiencing the same thing, Martin. That all your years of personal growth, we saw an example of somebody who, like that was one of the most inspirational moments of my life, seeing somebody, wow, here's somebody in reality dealing with a life-threatening thing with humor and belief in how he's going to conquer this and leave a legacy for his 28 grandchildren. And this, you see, this is the kind of transformational moment. This is a warning to every one of us that we better start to take care of this, because we say in the wellness industry we spend all our health running after wealth and then all our wealth trying to get back our health. But like when you hear two guys in the room for the 2 days talking about life-threatening diseases, this is a moment you should pay attention to, because you are drawn here, just like their two avenues came together in their marriage. We all came together so that we could take notice of what's here. And as he was saying earlier, you have to decide to take action on some of these things. But this to me is like, recognize that it wasn't just by circumstance that you are here hearing about two people with life-threatening disease.
John, I was just gonna thank you. That was wonderful. I really enjoyed what you said about how fear comes from ego, not the spirit. And I think in many ways, what you've had me kind of reflect on is, I think at the crux of it all, we're really after love. And sometimes I think, especially in business and other things, you're trying to build a business or customers or pats on the back by you're wanting them to love you. You're wanting the world to love you. You're wanting all these things to love you. And so it's like, whose love, the thing I wrote down is, whose love do you really want? Do you really want? Because sometimes we spend our time and energy trying to impress people we don't like, we can't even stand. And at the end of the day, the people that are the closest ones to you is the love that really heals and quenches anyways.
As I've gotten older, it's the only love that's really mattered for me. There's a beautiful poem by D.H. Lawrence, who wrote actually a book called Lady Chatterley's Lover, but the poem is beautiful. It's called Search for Love. Those that go searching for love never find love, and they only make manifest their own lovelessness. Only the loving find love, and they never have to seek for it. It's a beautiful poem.
Who wrote that, Tony?
D.H. Lawrence.
Beautiful. Can I ask you about, it's interesting having Martin yesterday talk about what he's going through, and also knowing Martin and having, I have no idea what it's like living in those shoes. I can only take it in from my own ability to hear and interpret and, try to look at different areas of my life. And what I hope to do more than anything is less about teaching people marketing strategies or whatever the hell it is I even do, and just reduce human suffering. And that stems from my own, because most of my life has been spent in angst. self-created, some of it just not even knowing how to deal with it, and just the ability to transform suffering is huge. And you know, I mean, I live in a great country. I live in a great world. I have great relationships, and in spite of that, I've somehow have had a mind that has been very self-sabotaging. That has, you know, not been my friend at times, but has been very self-destructive. And the thing you said about forgiveness, there's this line. You know, forgiveness is a quote. Forgiveness is giving up the hope that someday you're going to have a better past. Because you know, you just are never going to go back and change it. Like you said, you're not going to get the 10 years back. And with Martin, I mean, I think there's you know, an incredible amount of. I see people that are able to take on challenges that would be insurmountable in some cases for me. You know, I don't know how Martin brings what he brings to, you know, what's going on in his life right now, but it's incredibly inspiring. It's incredibly inspirational, and there's a deep loving concern and care that he has for himself and other people that I see. Now, I'm sure he has his moments, but he front stage does a really good job of not having anyone feel sorry for him, and to be as inspirational and encouraging as he can. And I think that's incredible. And if there's anything that I would hope that I would leave to the people I care about the most, is I would be encouraging. You know, I remember going to a funeral of a friend, and I've not been to very many funerals. I try to avoid funerals and weddings a lot, but you know, where everyone around said about this guy, this person was very encouraging, and I just think that's a great way to live. So my question is, you know, in your own, having gone through what you've gone through, how do you take on suffering now? Do you still have periods where you just simply go through the process, or have you evolved yourself to where you can just kind of drop it, or you can remind yourself? I mean, people use quotes. I mean, how do you contend with your own suffering and the suffering of others? I mean, what are...
That's a great question, Joe. And you know, if I feel pain and sadness now, it's much more from the people that I love going through a challenge that I'm not able to help as much as I would like. We just lost a 19-year-old on New Year's Eve in my wife's family, the only son of her sister. And you know, I spent a week with the family, and all I could do was to tell them, you know, share with them what I've learned from my teacher about the voyage of what happens when we die, where we go. We have a connotation of the grave kind of being a dark, lonely place here, but in my tradition, there's so much beauty that happens for the person who has done good in the world and who has led a life of service. It's a paradise that transcends anything that we could know, even in the world of the robotics. There's a science and mysticism that has a purity that is knowledge of direct inspiration. It's more than intuition. My teacher is able to see things far beyond what my eye can see because of how much practice and teaching he's had. So it's now, everything for me is about my faith. You know, you said yesterday, you know, Tony's very philosophical. Well, actually my reality is in the unseen, Joe. It's not in this world anymore. It really is. It's like, if I have physical pain sometimes, and I say, this is great. This is a warning for me to wake up. I just spent a day in the wellness center over at Trivita getting analyzed. I've got a whole, you know, thing of, you know, journey of health that I plan to do. So, but emotionally, I really, you know, and I don't know, maybe this is not being very humble, but I don't feel for my personal self a lot of sadness because I don't really have any purpose other than to help others. In other words, I feel so blessed with everything that I have in life, I'd feel ashamed to feel, you know, yes, it was sad to lose this boy, and I would have loved to have known him more. My brother died at 22. I was sad, but my pain for not being able to help my mother and father was much more immense than my own loss. So I think that the way to do that is to put your heart, imagine what, you know, put your heart in in the body of the person that's asking of something and saying, what does this heart want now? How can I nourish this other heart? And the moment you shift the attention from yourself, this door opens, and I believe that the universe helps you to realize that everything is transitory, that yes, it's a difficult emotion to lose somebody you love. It's difficult when you're going through divorces and separation, but once you are a person of faith, then what happens is a door opens that you know that this is just a way of the divine calling you to a higher place and a better place. Because when you're not feeling good, it's a sign of disconnection from the divine energy. I mean, I'm sure you can't feel intuitive if you don't feel good with somebody. It blocks that feeling. But so to me, it's like any time that I don't feel emotionally or spiritually good, Joe, I'm saying I am not connected. I'm not, I don't know if I said this earlier, but Augustine said faith is being able to see to believe what we can't see. And the result of that faith is that we see what we believe. And this has really been my truth. I see it's tremendously sad that a 19-year-old should go like that, but it was in God's wisdom. He's called to something else. When I went with one of my teacher's sons was actually put in prison here in California, and I went with him to visit his son. And I knew how painful it was for the mother, and I thought for him. And I said, wow, see, this must be so hard in your heart. I imagine visiting one of my own kids. And he said, never doubt God's wisdom. And his son ended up learning computer craft, went back to Jerusalem, built a whole business for the family. I mean, there was great wisdom behind that. So what happens is that the more you practice the faith, Joe, the deeper it gets. And the more love you give, the more love you get. And it's the love that gives everything meaning in the end, not, and I really love that you say you want to help human suffering. And I think what you're doing is you're doing that. You are helping people to market ideas that are useful. I mean, I was talking, what he's doing with the farmers and everything, and how he helps them, every person that you inspire and you teach through the collection of people you give is eventually going to relieve suffering. So you're living your life purpose. It's not just to bring together, and learn marketing, as you said. Inside you that you have a higher and deeper calling. And when it's your time, you'll come and acknowledge and open your heart to that, and you're going to transform even more lives because you have definitely a gift for that.
Thank you. Yeah, I think everything in terms of human happiness is in connection, and I think suffering is in disconnection. There was, having sat through many 12-step groups, there was a line from Bill W., who's one of the founders of AA, where he said, as alcoholics, we're trying to drink God out of a bottle. And I have always had complexity with God, higher power. I mean, hated God for many years. Really tried to just adopt an atheist belief in how it could even be possible, because I used to, pray every day when I was a kid, because I was raised Catholic. My mother used to be a former nun, and she died when I was 4, and I went to Catholic school. She left the convent and got married, so don't anyone tell nun jokes, I've heard them all. So she wasn't a nun when she got married, it's prior to that. But I was raised in a very guilt-ridden sort of environment, and I used to pray every day, and I used to get beat up, and I was I just had a just not very fun childhood, and so and it took many years until I realized that the connection, when I was a drug addict, was just trying to connect with anything. Addicts are actually some of the most spiritual people on the planet. They're just trying to connect with things that are very destructive. But it is trying to, a gambling addict is trying to gamble their way to whatever. A sex addict is trying to, have sex to God, whatever.
A fashion photographer in the 70s, it was sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Absolutely.
That was the door to paradise.
And for a lot of people, their religion is work. Workaholism is the respectable addiction. And so it's, there's all these things, but it's just these people trying to connect. And what I see in entrepreneurs that are truly producers, not people that are just taking advantage of people just to make money. But most entrepreneurs I know are, caring human beings. and they pay the price, but their production is great. But the beauty is seeing someone that's not only massive value creation, but very connected themselves. Those are the people I admire. I mean, to me, that's, you know, that's why I think a guy like Martin is just incredible. I mean, he's, you know, talk about just an incredible human being. You know, it's just seeing people that really have, but everyone has their cross to bear. You know, they've gone through their shit and they learn how to deal with it. So more than anything, it's just great to learn from that and continually, hopefully, evolve. But it is about connection, and the connection is not just with others, but it's with yourself. You know?
Well, if any of you would like to learn more of the principles, I'd be happy. Just send me an email, and I will gift you my program, and you can go and explore some of the ideas in it. It's spiritually based. I just ask people to believe in something bigger than themselves. How they believe, what religion they believe, that's their business. I talk about what my spiritual beliefs and my spiritual faith is, but I really encourage all of you to trust more in the inner life, to trust more your intuition, and to know that it is true, the universe does step in and support your dreams when they're in harmony with the divine laws. And when you come from a place of wanting to help others, you end up helping yourself more than anything.
One thing, not quite the journey, but a fairly colorful one, is a phrase that a trusted counselor shared with me, was having an internal perspective. And what he challenged me to do was to look at the struggles that I was having spiritually with the same fervor and discipline that I have entrepreneurially.
That's great.
He said, you can see your business done and successful today, even though it doesn't exist yet. If you would apply that same fervor, the things you don't understand, you go find expertise and you bring it around you. The processes that you don't know what to do, you learn from somebody else who's done it, and you put those things in. So if you would treat your spiritual life as an entrepreneurial endeavor, you'd find the peace that you're searching for. And it absolutely is true, but it comes out of this concept of having an eternal perspective. My garbage that I'm dealing with today, it's just today. If I look at it in the long term, I end up having that joy and that peace. I mean, the thing that I think is remarkable about Martin is, had he not gone through cancer, I would wager that he probably would have been an incredible, amazing, motivational, inspirational, phenomenal person anyway. So it's not the result of the struggle.
Yeah.
It's the byproduct of who you are, and he just had the grace of going through it. It's that eternal perspective. So I would offer, treat it like your next business and see if it doesn't help you get from here to there.
You remember the Maharishi? One day he was building this huge center, and somebody said, well, where's all the money going to come from? He says, I don't know, from wherever it is now. And he said, you know, like, you have two lives. You have an inner life and an outer life. Just live both of them 100%. So it's that balance. You know, if you have a wheel that's not balanced, you have a rough ride. And that's why I love your wheel. I'm very into that wheel. And, you know, like, you don't want to reduce the things that are good. You just want to expand the areas that need attention. And for me, I was like I said, I was a mess for 4 years. It was so painful. I mean, I was thinking I was having ulcers, the stomach cramps. I mean, the pain just completely destabilized me. I just, you know, it made me so dysfunctional. I had no motivation. It was horrible, and I couldn't buy my way out with any of the knowledge that I've been given up till then. I needed to turn to somebody who knew the world of the unseen and could allow my ego to dissolve in a safe place. And can I have another minute just to share an incredible story? Because, you know,
This is one of those ones that's really hard to cut off.
I was in Santa Fe with Cede is his name, and this lady came in front of him that I knew well, and she was having troubles in her relationship, and she said, you know, I give everything to my husband, I do this, I do that, and I'm not getting the love that, you know, he's not feeding me. And Cede looked at her and he says, no, you're giving the love that you think he needs. You're not giving him anything of what he needs. And this was so true. And when she went away, I said, Cede, how did you see that? And he said, well, God shows me. And I said, well, you know, how does he show you? Do you see a picture? Is it words? He said, no, he just shows me. And I realized I wasn't ready for him to even explain it. I didn't have the tools or the alphabet to understand his process. But then when she left and I said, well, CD, what do you see when you look at me? And I was thinking, you know, like I wanted him to tell me the things that were wrong with me that I could fix. And this twinkle came in his eye, and he looked and he said, beauty. And this was the first time that a man that I looked up to and respected ever said something like that to me. You know, it was what I yearned for from my father, who didn't know how to express that love. This was the most healing, I mean, it transformed my life. And even though it answered a question on the outside that I was asking, I thought was different, in the inside, that's probably what I was asking. And if you can allow the people that you love to see through your expression of your heartfelt love for them the beauty that you see in them, you will give a gift to that person that will transform their life, especially your children. You know, because we don't always love what our children do, but we love who they are. And David Nemelka one time, a Mormon up in Utah, said to me, I might not have always been perfect with my love, but my intent has always been perfect. And you sometimes, you give your children what you think they need, but start thinking, like what CD says, put your heart in there, what do their hearts want from you? And most of the time is they want to see the beauty through your heart that you see in them. It's a great exercise to do.
Thank you, Tony.
You're welcome. Pretty good card trick too, huh? Pretty good card trick too.